Hi there, welcome back to Board Game Specialists. This week we are going to be talking about our real-time games. This is episode 43, and I'm Carla.
And I'm Melanie.
Now, before we get into our top 9 real-time games, what have you been playing, Melanie?
Well, actually, on Friday, my sister and her boyfriend came over, and then we ended up playing a few games. So we started with Tempura. That's kind of like our new go-to filler game right now. That one and Piña Parada. So, but we played Tempura because she's a big cat fan, and I figured she would enjoy the artwork in this one. And it's just so cute. Like, you're playing cards on top of cards because you're trying to eat as much as you can without getting an indigestion. So the theme is silly and neat, and you're collecting these cards, and then you're like, on your turn, you either add the same card that's already there. So if it's a 4, you would add a 4. If you can't do a 4, then you could add 2 of the same card of a different card that would kind of discard the pile that's there and start a new pile with the 1. Or you could play an action card. But if you can't do any of that, you got to tally up all the cards that are in that pile. So if it's 4 4s, then you would have to draw 16 cards. But the more you draw, the more likely you are to draw an indigestion card. And if you do that 3 times, then you lose the game and the game is over. So it was neat. Then we played the Quest for El Dorado. So, which is a racing game that goes across the map. So, and it was neat. Me and my sister had played it before. Lee had played it before, but it was James' first time. So, and it's a deck building where you're collecting the cards and then you're trying to make it through. My sister beat us all. Well, they all did really well except for me. I was quite a ways behind, and I was like, I got stuck in water and I just couldn't make it past, and I didn't have the proper cards, and then I had to kind of go back around a bit, and then so I figured I'm gonna go the opposite way so I'm not all stuck where they're at and then they're blocking me. But that strategy didn't work out for me all that great. And then we played Framework, which is very similar to Nova Luna, but you get 5 tiles that you draw that you add to your own tableau, and you're trying to create these clusters of frames that will match the little circle numbers on the touching tiles. So I did win that one, so that was good. And then we played Cacao, which is such a neat game, and it's kind of like a farming game. You're collecting cacao fruit that you are selling to the market, but it's really neat because they're like little wooden tokens. So when you're collecting them, you get like this cute wooden token on your board, but you can only have up to 5. And you're playing these cards because everybody has tiles that are have 4 workers on it, but sometimes it'll be like 3 on one side, 1 on another, or 1 1 1 1 on the 4 side, and depending on where you put your tile and how you orient it. So if you have like 2 workers touching the cacao plantation, then you would get to collect 2 times because you got 2 workers there. And then if you have 2 workers on the market, then you would get to sell there 2 times because you got 2 workers there. And then so the way that you place your tile and where you place them and what you're trying to connect is kind of a neat game. So we really enjoyed that one. I can't remember who won that. Oh, me and Lee tied. And then the next tiebreaker was whoever had the most cacao, and we both had none. So it's like,
and then there was not a further tiebreaker?
No, then afterwards you share the victory. So we ended up both winning that one, I guess. But it was a neat game. It was my first time playing 4 players. So that was cool.
Yeah, it makes the board a little more interesting, hey? The table.
Yeah, well, because it fills
there
up a lot more. And then all of a sudden, you've run out of tiles, so then you have to use your sundials to cover if you want to, or you're just kind of adding to the edge. But it was really cool. I really enjoyed that one. Now, how about you? What did you play?
One of my older ones that I have, it was a roll and write, and it's called Trek 12. So me and my daughter did the expedition. So you play the 3 different maps, and you kind of they carry over. So the first map, depending if who wins and what your score is, you get so many stars. And then you carry over to the next game, and you might have gotten a card that will help you in the next game. And so then whoever wins that will carry on their stars or whatnot. It's a really neat roll and write. Like keep forgetting. I have so many good ones, but this one is awesome. You can play this one on BGA, but it's so fun because what you do is you just have all these little circles on a mountain. It's the theme of it. There's really no theme, but and you roll dice. And it's just 2d6s, and whatever you have, you can either add those up, you can subtract one from the other, you can multiply them, or you can take the higher or the lower one. And you're going to put one of those numbers in a circle. And then the next roll, so one person could just roll the whole game because you will choose from like the same dice. The next one has to go beside that circle. And what you're trying to do is get chains of numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, higher if possible. Like if you can get, because I think the highest you can write down is a 12 maybe.
Okay.
So if you could get like a 12, 11, 10, 9, 8 would be like, and all the way down would be great, but the higher the better. And then you're also trying to get groups of the same number. And so then how you score those after, but they have to be connected because then you draw a connection to each of them, and you can only be connected to one unless it's the same value. Like, so if I had 11, 10, 9, 8, and then I had a couple 8s around the 8, that would be okay, but I couldn't chain 8 with another run. So,
okay.
So, but how you score is, so say I had 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, you would count 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So you count the highest number and then however many numbers you have chained to it. So that'll be your score for that chain. And then say I have 4 8s together, I would count 8, 9, 10, 11. So that would give me 11 points. And so you're trying to get these chains all around. And then near the end, you have to put numbers down a lot of times that won't work, and those give you sad faces. So those are like negative points. So it's just a little puzzly game trying to figure out where to put these numbers to get the biggest chains. And it's funny because then when you do certain little chains, you can get these cool bonus cards. So like chaining 0s or 1s together, which won't give you a lot of points, but they'll give you these bonus cards that can help you in the future. And it's just a simple, like, really simple one. I think it's a Bruna Cathala game, which he comes up with some beauties. But so yeah, we played that. I also played another roll and write, a new one. It's called Delicious. Now this is in the Pencil First line. So they have like Sunset Over Water, Herbaceous, Floriferous, the Whatnot Cabinet, all those kind of little pretty small box games. And this is their first roll and write that they have put out. And it is, you have just 2 cards that you're going to choose from. And one is on the top, one's on the bottom. And they're just veggies. So you're going to choose where to put these veggies on your sheet. And one is designated to the top part of your sheet and one's designated to the bottom. And now you have 12 turns throughout the game. And there's different places where you can use them because you have 12 little circles that you can check off. Some of them will say like 1 card in the right place. So you could just choose one of those. Another one will be 2 cards. So you could choose both of those, but they have to go like in the one on top has to be in the top, bottom on the bottom. Or you could choose the slot that says 2, but you can mix them up. So you could reverse them. And so you're trying to get these veggies in these little planters. And it's kind of like, I don't know if you ever played the game Draftosaurus.
Yes.
Okay, so it's exactly like that, only it's vegetables, and you're putting them in because some of them want them all the same, some want them all different, but you have to slot them from bottom to top, and so you're trying to fill those in. But then you also get these little chips on each card, and it'll either be a fruit or a tool. Now, if it's a fruit, you have this whole other section on your player sheet that is fruit, and so you're trying to put these fruit in different shapes and rows and columns to get maximum points. Whether you have them all the same or all different, all the same would give you more points. And then the tools are little things you can also use. So each planter has a whole bunch of different tools in it, and it is designated to a row or column. And so you can choose that tool if you've chosen that veggie, and then you can find that tool, and if there's a slot open there that you're able to plant something, you can choose any vegetable. So they're kind of like little wilds.
Oh,
but it's another real thinky little puzzle. My friend Ashley, we played it one night, and she's like, oh, I don't know. She doesn't really like roll and writes.
Right?
So I thought, okay, well, maybe this one, because she really likes the pencil first game. So played it, and she's like, oh, I don't think I like it. Next morning, she's like, I dreamt about Delicious. And all night last night. I'm like, she's like, can you go pick me one up again? Yeah. So we played it again, and she does like it. And she's played it solo a bunch. So, because it has a really cool little solo mode to those pencil first games. Some of them have this like
cool.
pesky crow that comes and steals your stuff. But it was a good one. So those were 2 roll and writes I played. Then I got my Kickstarter in. I have 3 more on the way, but I'll wait to tell you about those when they come. But this one came in, is called Verdant. Now this one was in the line with Cascadia and Calico. So this is like the 3rd one in the line. They're different designers, but it's from the same publishing company. Is it Flat Out Games, I believe they're called? I should have a look here. Oh no, AEG. So yeah, AEG and Flat Out Games. Okay. Anyway, so this one has a similarity to Cascadia, where you are putting plants in rooms. And what you have is plant cards and room cards. And so you'll have a row of each. And then in the between them, you have these little either furniture or pet chits kind of thing. Okay. So kind of like in Cascadia, where you have the big tile and then you're choosing the little animal. Well, this one, you're going to be choosing a room and a little chit, or you're going to be choosing a plant and that one in the middle there. So, and you have to place them on your tableau like in a checkerboard. So it'll go room, plant, room, plant, room, plant. So room can't be next to room, plant can't be next to a plant. But the plants want verdancy. So on the plants, it'll show like this one wants full shade and part sun. So, and the rooms have different types of sun or shade on each side of the card. So you place the room where that part, like this side of the room, will give sun. So you want the plant on that side because it wants sun. But this other plant wants shade. So you want to try to find a plant that wants shade to put on this side. So you're trying to like strategically place these cards so that they will all work with verdancy. Because when you get verdancy, you get to take this little green leaf kind of thing, and that'll go on your card. And each plant requires a different number, so it might be like a 5 or an 8. And once you get that much verdancy on there, because you'll be placing more cards around it, and there's different tools that you can use as well, that in the little chits that'll go up there, that can give you more, so that if you've already surrounded that plant and you can't get any more verdancy, there's other ways to get it. So once you complete the verdancy, you get to grab one of these little pots from the middle. And the first pots that are taken are the highest points. So they're like a 3 point. So you'll put that pot on your plant, and then that one doesn't need to have any more verdancy on it. But they go down to 2, 1, and then 0 points. So those will just give you extra points, because whether the verdancy is 5 or 7, there's also a point number under it. So you will, like say a 5 verdancy plant might only give you 4 points. But if you have a 3-point pot on it, well then now you have 7 for that one card. And then plus each room also wants to have certain plants in it. So that's another way to get bonus points. And then the other thing is you are set collecting the little furniture and pets, the little cardboard shit. So there's all different kinds of set collection and trying to like figure out your puzzle, and it's really nice and relaxing. Not a heavy game, but very, I would say, in the like weight of Cascadia. Mm-hmm. Maybe a little bit more, just because there's maybe 2 more things going on than there, because you're kind of only doing 2 different puzzles there, where here you're kind of doing maybe 3 or 4. But it's so pretty. The plants are awesome. The art is by Beth Sobel, so it's beautiful, but I'm happy with that one. 1 more or 2 more, but one of them you, I think, had talked about it at some point, or one of your friends maybe talked to me about it, but I had ordered this from Amazon, and I can't remember what made me do it, because you had talked about it a while ago, and it's called Beyond Baker Street.
Oh, yes.
So this, I think your friend was selling it actually, now that I think about it, when we had that game day. And I kind of looked at it and I was like, oh, I don't know. Because you don't have it, right? You just play
No,
it.
I do.
Oh, you do have it. Okay. So
I have it. Because I had that one in Hanabi, so I got rid of Hanabi, kept Beyond Baker Street, just because I like the theme better.
Yeah.
It's really but nice. I suck at both of them.
Well, we played it last night and it's fun. It's a good tool for me to help with my memory because you are putting all these cards face out, so you can't see what cards you have in your hand. And what you're trying to do is confirm all this evidence. So there's 3 different types of evidence on the board, and it's a co-op game. So you are trying to add cards that total each suit. So the suits are kind of silly. Like one's like a footprint. So say that there's like the footprint says it's 13 or something. So now we have to collectively put cards down exactly that add up to 13. But you don't know what cards you have. So on your turn, you can you can assist, it's called. So I could say, like Melanie, these 2 cards here on your board, and you can point to them, and you can say like, those 2 are footprints. So you know you have 2 footprints, and I think the highest card is a 6. So you would be safe to just put one of those down on your turn, right? Yeah. The other thing that you could do is I could say all of these 3 cards here are 5s. So you can either tell them the suit or the number. But you have to tell all of them. Like I can't just say just this one's a 5 when you have 2 other 5s. You have to say them all. So it was interesting. The first game, like we played the easy mode, and I'm like, oh, this is really easy. And then and I think we almost got a bit lucky too, because it was super easy. We did it so fast. And then we bumped it right up to like from 15 to 10. So that's like Sherlock. I think it's Sherlock, right?
Yeah, because you're competing against Sherlock, trying to solve this before he does.
So he, on the easy game, the easiest, he starts on 15. And once he gets to 0, game over. If you haven't confirmed all the evidence and gotten your evidence marker up, which is another thing you also have to do, then you lose. So then we bumped him. We didn't play the hardest. Then we played 10, which is probably maybe medium hard. Yeah. So, and then we're like, okay, yeah, this is easy. And you also have player powers. You get 1 at the beginning of the game, so you get to do something that nobody else gets to do. And so then the second time we lost, we got very close, but we lost. And then we're like, okay, we got to try this again. So we tried again on that same level. And we did it. But like he was 2 away from the end. Like it was very close. But it's such an interesting game because I was like, I wonder how it'll work. Because I didn't like Hanabi either. I do want to try it again now that I'm appreciating more like mechanics like this.
Right.
But so I do want to try it again. But this one was neat, and the theme is so neat because you're literally just like you're technically solving crimes when really you're just trying to put numbers down.
It's very abstract
and add them up. Yeah, basically. But it's a nice little production too. The cards are really nice. But
it looks good. The game looks good for sure.
Yeah,
I just cute. My memory is just for show.
Oh, I know. Like, and there was one point.
Okay, this one is a 5. These 2 are 5s. I was like, okay. And then by the time we're on the next thing, it's like, oh shoot, which 2 cards? Oh shoot, what number was it? It's like that's just out of my mind. Like I was like, oh no.
I know. The turn came back around to me one time, and they were like, I was like, oh, you told me those were footprints, and you said these ones were 5s or something. And then they both look at me, and I'm like, okay, yeah. So I placed this one down, and it's the wrong color, the wrong number. They're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, my memory. I need to play more memory games to get better at them, but
for sure.
So the last one is a big one, and this one is called Endless Winter.
Oh.
This one, Ashley was waiting for this Kickstarter to arrive for months, really. But the last few weeks, literally daily, it was like, is it coming today? But so it finally came. And luckily, she loves it, which is good. When you're looking forward to something for so long, and the odd time it happens, you're like, this isn't that great. But no, this one is a good one. And I played it twice now. The first time, I was like, yeah, it's good. There's like a lot going on. But the second time, we added an expansion. and it even made it better. But
Nice.
it kind of gives me a Lost Ruins of Arnak vibe. But saying
Okay,
that,
cool.
it's not like that game. The reason I say that is because it has deck building. You're moving up tracks. There's some area control in there, which I guess really isn't in Lost Ruins, but there's different things going on. And your puzzle, like, you can work out a different puzzle than everybody else. There's so many ways to victory. And so what you do is you all have these little player boards, and you have 3 workers, and one of them is a chief, like, so a big guy. And there's 5 different spots for worker placement, and you will be placing these onto them. But before that, you have a whole hand of cards, and you start with 5 the first round, and there's 4 rounds, so it doesn't sound like a lot, but each round you will have more than 5 cards, most likely, that you'll get to play out. And so what you do is you will go to one of these worker placement spots and either place tents on this little area control place, which just doesn't only give you area control, it gives you bonuses as well for being there and having control of them. So it also does that. You can go to a spot to get more cards and helpers in your hand. And they will give you more icons because you need to use all these icons on these cards to do things, like as payment. Like you have meat, and now I'm forgetting what the icons on the cards are, but you have meat and tools that are big things that you need to spend in the game. So there's those different ways. You can also go to this place and get animals. Now the little animals are cards, and they all have like a set collection to them. So the more you get of the same kind, you get higher points, or you might get more things during the eclipse, which is at the end of the round. The other thing you can do is kill these animals. I mean, it doesn't say kill, but I think that's basically what you're doing. And you turn them to the side, and then you get all their like meat and maybe a tool out of them, or meat and something else. But then they don't get added to your set collection because you've turned them. There's also these little stones you can go to and collect, and they are like end game points. So if there's something you're going for, like in the air control, you're kind of working over in the mountains, then you might want to get a stone that gives you that. Or if you're just going to kill off a bunch of animals, there's one little stone that will let you, for every unique animal that you have killed off, you get points for. There's a little roll and write expansion part to it, which was actually so cool. And it's like a cave painting little thing. And so there's 2 sides to the board. One is your character, so I was a wolf. And the other side is a mammoth, and I think the mammoth everybody has. So on my side, you have these little icons, and you can go to a worker placement spot, and you can cross off like either a square, circle, or triangle. But you have to pay to do that. And then once you've crossed off like so many, you get to draw these lines around it. And whatever you surround, you get that like bonus. So, and the legs of the picture, you get those bonuses during the eclipse. But the ones on the top and near the tail, you get immediately if you complete those. Those are harder to complete. So it's really, it might sound strange, but it is really neat, and it really ramped up the game. There's also this other little area on the board. It's called the, I keep forgetting the name, but it's another little spot where you can place these little tiles and get points and other little bonuses. And there's just so many ways to do things. You could like go a different route every game for probably 10 different games and play a completely different game. I'm more than 10, I'm sure, but we had a lot of fun. So the first time I played a 2-player, and then last night we played a 3-player. It's really good though. Cool. I was happy with that one. Yeah. So what about you? Do you have any honorable mentions for real-time games?
I do. Now, First, I kind of Googled the definition of what makes a real-time game a real-time game. Because most games, you'll have different rounds. Like, okay, it's your turn, you do your thing. Then, okay, now it's your turn, you do your thing. And then it's your turn, you do your thing. In real time, you can have a bit of that element, but it's not like a set thing. It's more like you trying to accomplish something in a certain amount of time, or once you've accomplished a thing, then it kind of ends that particular branch of the game or something. But a lot of time it is time
like a
based
timer involved or something. Yeah.
of some sort. Yeah.
Yeah.
So two of the honorable mention that they didn't quite make my list, but I thought were neat games I wanted to talk about. The one is Bullet and Heart emoji, or like, I guess there's a few different ones like Bullet Heart and Bullet different symbols that they've come up with. But with this one is everybody's playing at the same time and you're drawing these tokens that you will be adding. And then depending on what it is, which kind of road they'll go down. And if they ever go kind of, you can be somewhere you accomplish them and then they kind of get cleared off your board. But it's kind of funny because the more you clear off your board, those tokens are going to be passed down to the next player. So you can all of a sudden kind of get them where they have a ton of tokens. The one thing I found with this one though was I've played this a few years ago, so I don't remember all the details really well, but I remember everybody's playing at the same time and you're just doing this until you've gone through all the tokens that you have. And try not to kind of get too cluttered. But it's an elimination game. So you can get to a point where you've kind of, because you'll have different abilities that will clear things off your board. But if you get to, like if they reach the bottom, then they get passed over and then they kind of clutter your board. And if that ever gets full, then you've been eliminated. And when we had played, like the 2-player got eliminated. And then the last 2 players, it was me and my friend's daughter. But we kept playing for a fair bit, like for quite a few more rounds. So luckily, it was like, I think it was Fall Can't, and we had a different game set up. So they just kind of left and went and started the next game. But otherwise, you could be sitting there waiting for the game to end for a while. And I've noticed that with this one. But everybody has different abilities and different things. So it was kind of cool. Then the other one I want to mention is Magic Maze. This is funny. Like this was introduced to us when I went to Shoebox in Calgary. Me and my sister went there, and then the guy, like, they recognized us by the time we went there. It's like, oh, we've got some new game. Let me show you. And he's like, oh, this Magic Maze is really cool. And we're like, oh, okay, well, tell us about it. He says, okay, so in this game, you don't talk. And then both me and my sister were like, nope, we're out. And he's like, no, it's really good. He's like, you don't talk. He's like, no, we're out. It's like, we're talkers.
we can't help but talk.
But it is really interesting. There's 4 characters. And you don't play as one of the characters. You play as all of them. But each player controls a different direction. So I could control going north and going up escalators because you're in this small. Basically, these 4 characters just had a defeat in a dungeon. Their dungeon, went to attack a dragon or something, and they lost all their weapons. So they're kind of recuperating. So they come into this mall. They're going to go into try to find the store that sells their weapon, steal a weapon because they're out of gold, and then try to make it out of the mall in time to try and go back in this dungeon. So this is what the story is. You're in this mall. You're trying to find the store that has your weapon, steal it, and get out before you get caught. So you're trying to move these characters to kind of because one of the movement is also adding a new tile. So there's one person who's responsible for adding new tiles when they get to the edge of, say, okay, well, we're here, so add a new tile. So one person will be responsible for that. One person's responsible for north, east, south, and west. But that's all divided up between the characters. So, and then you can't talk. So you're trying to move these characters across this map, trying to find the stores. But it starts fairly easy, but each round you will kind of add a new element to it. And, so now some doors are only characters can go through while some can't. And then it just becomes more and more complicated. But you're just kind of going through. And then me and my siblings did not too bad. I think just because we grew up together, kind of have that connection a little bit. Then me and my sister played with my sister-in-law. It was so bad. She forgot that she controlled going west. So she was also controlling going up and down escalators. So it was her turn and she would go up the escalator. And then we're like, you have this big red thing that you can put, like, okay, you could put this in front of the person saying, I need you to do something. And she would just move up and down the escalator. Me and my sister are killing ourselves laughing. And it was like we never made it past the first level. Like it was that bad. But it was so hilarious. And it is a really neat game, but there's also a timer as well. And then if the timer runs out, you would lose. So you have to go onto a timer location to flip the timer. But if you get caught up into the different things, then somebody may not realize the timer is about to go out. Well, one person is, but they can't say anything. And they're trying to move one of the characters to a timer flipper. But it's neat. It is such a fun, chaotic game, but I really enjoy that. So those are my honorable mentions.
That Magic Maze, it's funny because before FallCon, this guy had it on his site, on like a used site. He was selling it for $1, and I'm like,
oh wow,
what? Well, I'll take it for $1. So I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. And he's like, oh my god, that was a total typo. I've had like 30 people already contact me. It was Greg, like your friend Greg.
Oh yeah, geez, $1. That's
He's like, I'm so sorry. It's like, it was like 25 or something. I'm like, oh no, I get it. Like, that's totally fine. But I hear ya. He must have had like tons of calls. I just put something for free on Facebook Marketplace. Like I was going through all my Christmas decorations and I had a bunch of old ones that even my daughter didn't want. So I'm like, I just want them out of my house, but I don't want to throw them in the garbage. So I'm like, I sent a picture of them. I'm like, if somebody wants these, come get them. Well, I literally got 50 messages. And so the first one, I'm like, okay, can you come get them? Yeah. Can you come today? Because I really want to mark this off my, like, as sold, or, because people just kept coming. I'll come and get them. I'll come and get them. Like, oh, but anyway, I will get that game one day. But I thought I was going to get it for $1.
Oh, geez.
But no. Anyway,
no,
I have a couple honorable mentions too. One is a game that I've always used to bring camping that we'd play with the kids and friends. And this was called Dutch Blitz. So this is, and I believe it's the same as the game called Nerds, but I've never played Nerds. But I think Nerds can be played with normal cards, I believe. I mean, I guess Dutch Blitz could too, technically. Yeah. But what it is everybody, it's like Speed. If anyone's played Speed when they were young with normal cards, this is what it is, just with some different icons on it. But everybody has the same deck and you shuffle it all up and you have a stack of like Dutch Blitz, they call it, cards. And then you lay 3 or 4 out depending how many players are playing. And all you're trying to do is get rid of this pile in front of you plus the 3 cards that are laid out, 3 or 4 cards. And so how you do that is you flip cards like you would in solitaire. Like you grab 3 cards, lay them down, and then if that card on top or any of your cards there are a 1, you put it in the middle. And they have all different colors, so you're just trying to build up like 1 to 10, 1 to 10 and all these colors. But you have to do it so you flick your cards really fast. 3 down, okay, I have nothing. 3 more down. And then you're just trying to get rid of your cards. As soon as one of the 3 is gone in the middle, you get to grab from that stack and keep refilling that. And you basically want to get rid of that stack and those 3. And once you do, you can call Dutch Blitz and end it. You could keep going because how you score is the cards that are in the middle. So if you haven't got a whole lot of cards in the middle yet and you want to get more, you might keep playing to get more from your deck that way. Because some games could take forever where everyone gets through almost their whole stack that they're flipping through, whereas someone could literally like finish their cards without barely using any of those. So it's just a fast and like heart racing game where you're just you stand up usually playing this game, and it's the base game is a 4-player game, but then you can add this expansion which adds 4 more people, and it's just total chaos because you're flipping cards in the middle, and then once a 10 pile you're supposed to like remove that, but nobody wants to use their time to pick up that pile of 10 and get it off the board because that takes time, and it's just crazy, but it's fun. The other one is Anomia, and this one we've played. I've played quite a bit, where you are just you have a stack of cards, everyone, and you just flip one at a time. And if your symbol matches another person's, you have to describe what their card says, and they have to describe what your card says before the other person. And if you do, you get that as a score. And it's just a fast one too, because you just kind of have to keep looking around for symbols, and then there's these wild cards that might bounce 2 symbols off each other, so it's even harder. So you're looking for those 2 symbols plus this one, and you're just like, slowly someone will flip the card and you look, and then you got to think of like a president of the United States or something. And you're like, and you can't think of it. And that's what anomia
You call
means.
something really silly and it's kind of like,
Yeah. So it's fun. But yeah, those are my two
those are great.
That I really
enjoy.
They just didn't make my top 9. But let's get on with it. So what is your number 9?
My number 9 is Pandemic Rapid Response. It's published in 2019, created by Kane Klenko, and it's a Z-Man game. And with this one is, like, you go into, I think it's a timer that you have that you're going. So there's a timer that's going, and you roll the dice, as fast as you can, and you assign what you can, and then you move, because you're on the plane and you're going from city to city to deliver goods because there's a big pandemic going. But as you're doing all this, it's going to create some trash, and then you have to make sure that you take the time to recycle and kind of get rid of that so you don't get overwhelmed, because if you do get overwhelmed with trash on your plane, you lose the game. There's a few things that will happen that will kind of cause you to lose the game, just like pandemic. And you're trying to get all these resources like food and medicine to these different locations. And you'll roll the dice, and one of them will kind of move the plane around the board to go to another city. And then that city's going to have a card as, okay, they need this much food and this thing. So you're rolling. But then you go until you've kind of done what you could, then you pass the dice over to the next person, and they get going as well and do as much as they want to or think they can, and then they move to the next person until the timer stops. And then it's like, okay, and then you kind of evaluate what you've done, and then you bring out more stuff out as well, and then you kind of go again. But then it's like, okay, we need to do something about all this trash here because we're about to lose, because some of this stuff will create that as well. So it's a really neat game, and it's one of those that, like, you get going. You're not gonna like casually. This isn't a casual game, right? You have to be on. But it's a really neat one. So that's my number 9, Pandemic Rapid Response.
Awesome. Compare this to what's it called? The Cure. Pandemic.
It's because Pandemic the Cure, you can take your time. You're rolling the dice. You're assigning the dice. While this one is a higher pressure one, and it's kind of got that speed portion to it. And then you'll be assigning dice, but now they're assigned there, so you can't access them. So it's okay, but I need. So it's definitely has a complete different feel. Now I have both. I bought Pandemic the Cure after I played it with you because I enjoyed it so much, but it doesn't have that hectic feel that you get with the Rapid Response. Mind you, you kind of get that, oh my God, we're about to lose feel anyways on all the Pandemic game. But it's complete different feel for sure.
Well, that's awesome. I did order this one. This one is actually on sale right now at Boardgame Bliss for $15.95, I believe.
They have so many sales at Boardgame Bliss right now. Yeah.
So hopefully when this episode drops, it's still on sale if anyone's interested. But that's a great price. I think it was like a $35 game or something like that. So,
it's worth it.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, my number 9 is Color Addict. This is made in 2009 by Nicholas Bernard. Now, this one, you are kind of in Dutch Blitz fashion. You're just trying to get rid of your cards, but there's only one deck on the table. And so you evenly deal out the cards, and then you start, no, you don't evenly, because there's still a stack. I'm not sure, I can't remember how many you get, and then there's one card flipped, and on the card, it's going to have a color blotch, and then it's going to have a color word. So, but the word might be blue, but the color of the word might be pink. Mm-hmm. So you might have blue written in pink and have a green splotch on it. Blotch, whatever the word is. Anyway, and so what you can do is you could either put something blue down or something pink down. So you could put something that says the word blue, or you could put something that is the color pink. So it's kind of makes your brain like flip around because you're looking at that blotch too. You're like, I want to put green down. Oh, I can't put green. So you are just trying to get rid of your cards. And if out of the 3 cards in your hand, you can't play anything, you can pick up another one. You can keep picking up until you can play. And then there's some jokers too. So a joker you will put down on anything and just say a color. So if you say gray, somebody who has a gray card or
the word gray
says gray can put it down. So they might put a a card that says gray, but it's brown. And so everyone's still thinking in gray.
Yeah.
So it makes you really think fast, but it sounds kind of stupid, but it's actually really fun. We played this at conventions it's a really good game if you are needing to wake up and like if you're your brain is kind of fried.
And then that color blob is just
and the color blob
is just to mess you
throw
up.
you off.
But yeah, we played that at FallCon.
Yeah.
And then
we played
you
it in the morning.
Ashley are like throwing cards on, and I have my card, and I don't think I played a single card that first round, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah,
and it was
time people
early.
Play. Yeah. First time people play, they're like, what the hell did you just do?
What
and then they're
this?
like, oh, okay, I think I get it. So after 2 or 3 games, they're like, oh yeah, I got this. But at first you're like, what? You just played 10 cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. But
yeah, I just had my cards like, okay, no, I guess.
This one also was on sale at Boardgame Bliss. It isn't anymore, but it was like $3, so we bought a whole bunch for like Christmas presents and stuff.
Oh, nice, yeah.
But it's a good one because anyone can play this game. Like I'm sure kids would like this. If they're Uno lovers, this would be something that would work their brain a little more, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my number 9, Color Addict.
Perfect. My number 8 is Kitchen Rush. This was published in 2017. It's created by Vangelis Bagiartakis and David Turksey. Guaranteed I have butchered those names. And it's published by Artipia Games. But what's interesting with this one is you have your workers, and your workers are send timers. And you're running a restaurant, so you'll have customers come in, so you need to use a send timer to sit them and get their order. So then you'll draw cards, and then those are the orders you have. Then you can use your send timers to go and get the ingredients for the different dish you're going to need. And then depending on the dish, there's different plate size that you have that you'll have to go and get for that particular dish. And then you'll need to get the ingredients, bring it to the oven so you can cook it. But then you also have to make sure you go to the pantry area and grab the seasoning that you're going to need to add that. And then depending on the dish, it may have to cook 1, 2, or 3 level. So you'll but you can't move your send timer worker until it's done the action. Then the send timer has run out. Then you can reassign it. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to cook this one a second time. So you go to the second level. And then you're also taking that dish back to the customer so that they get the thing, and then you can get a tip. If you do it before kind of like the whole round ends, then you get extra money for having done that. And then you all have to, okay, great, I need to do this dish. Darn, I'm out of those dishes. They're all in the dirty dishes area. So then you have to send a timer to wash the dishes. And then they're kind of wait for that to be done. Then the dishes can be moved. And then you go to the pantry. Oh, shoot, we're out of chicken. So you need to go to the market and purchase more ingredient. And it's chaotic. It's hectic. It's tough. It's a tough one. It's not an easy game to win per se, but it is neat. And I do enjoy that one. And that's my number 8, Kitchen Rush.
Nice. That's a good one. And you're also reaching over people. So like somebody wants to grab over here, but you're going there and you're like, no, I need this way. Yeah, that one is definitely gets your pulse going. I would really like to try the Rush MD version.
Me too.
So it's like a medical version where I think you have to fill these little syringes with, I don't know if it's little balls or something, but there's like a dexterity part to it as well. Looks really neat. That's a good one. All right, my number 8 is called Stay Cool, made in 2019 by Julian Sentis. Now this one is a party game, but only one person is actually in the hot seat at once. And so you have this timer, and 2 people on either side of you are going to, one person is going to ask you questions. They're going to say, what is something you use to write with but not a pencil? And so you have these dice in front of you with letters. And so you were just trying to make the word. So pen, right? Like I try to find pen. So I try to flip it in pen. But then this other person on the other side of you is asking you, like, how do you spell your last name backwards? So you're trying to do this at the same time as they're asking you the questions. So you're like, okay, pen. Yeah, okay, it's right. And then you spell my name's terribly.
Yeah,
long,
yours
so
is terrible. Mine
would
be easy.
So that would take me a while if I got that question. But it's Janudis, by the way. It's very long and Greek. And yeah, I don't even want to attempt it backwards. But so anyway, and then as soon as you would get that question, they would ask you another one. But then, okay, as soon as this timer is out, somebody also has to watch that and they flip it onto this number 2. And so you keep going, and then once that empties, it goes to 3, and then it goes to 4. And you see how many things you got. So however many answers I got from this left side person and however many I got from this right side person, you multiply that number and that's your score. So you go around the table and everybody does that. Then there's round 2. So now you have to do the same thing, only I have to be if I'm in the hot seat, I have to watch the timer and make sure I flip it before it ends. So I have to focus on my dice, listen to this question, watch the timer, make sure it hasn't gone out, flip it before it ends, put it onto 2, flip, and then do my thing, flip it before it ends, go on to 3, and do the same thing for 4. Go around the table, everybody does that again. Now, round 3, the timer is behind a screen. So I don't know what is going on, but so I just will say
time feel.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Okay, flip the timer. So someone will flip it. If it hasn't ended, if it ended, you're done. But if it hasn't, and maybe you had tons of time left, it's getting flipped anyway onto 2.
Yeah.
And so you're like, I literally had 10 seconds there, but you feel like you've been there for 30 seconds. Yeah. So it's nuts. And I think I've tried this with, I think maybe family once, but I really want to try it with gamers just to see what will happen. I haven't got to yet. Might have to bring it to KefCon and try it out, but it is nuts. And yeah, that's my number 8. Stay cool.
Nice. My number 7 is Escape Room: The Game. This was published in 2016. It's uncredited as to who the publisher is, and then it's an Identity Game International. And this could include any unlock and any exit games as well, honestly. It's that type of game. But what's really cool about this one is you have this bomb that's ticking down. And you have these different keys, and then depending on what you need to do, you got to put the keys in and push down, and then it'll kind of be like, okay, great, that was successful. So you go into the next thing. And there's a bunch of different stories. So the original box comes with 4, but then you can add-on packs that will use that same bomb machine. And this tends to be a New Year's Eve tradition for us. Like we've been doing one of these on New Year's Eve. And like the first time we're playing, we're like trying to figure out, and it was like, oh my God, we don't know what. And if you push the wrong combination down, it takes away a time. It takes away a minute. So it's like, oh no, that wasn't it. And then some of the stuff that it'll make you do, like it's out of the box thinking, right? But you're trying to figure out this whole puzzle mystery thing. And then it was like, what is it? What is it? And then it's like, wait, is it all this? And it was like, oh my God. And then we did it, and then managed and won the game with 2 seconds to spare. And your heart is pumping, and it's like, oh my God. Oh my, like it's not going to blow up, but like it feels like it will, right? So then you get so kind of caught up in the moment of it all, and then it's neat. And then, yeah, like the Unlock series is great too, and then the exit games. But the Unlock is neat because it's all card-based, and then you can kind of reset it and pass it on to somebody else to do. The exit game are really cool, but that game gets destroyed as you play. It's a one-time thing. The Escape Room, the game, it's just with that, having that machine that you're looking at and it's counting down. Now they have it where you could have it as an app instead, but it's more fun to have that bomb in the middle of the table that's ticking down. So that is my number 7, Escape Room, the game.
So that's the one that has like this big square thing.
Yeah, it's like
you have to put keys in. Okay, yeah, because I was just gonna go grab mine. Okay,
what is it called? It's called the Chrono Decoder.
Yeah, I have that, and I think I tried it early on in my gaming career, and it was too hard for us. Or I don't know, maybe we did get through one. I don't remember, but there's a whole bunch of expansions to that. What is the best one to play? Because I'm gonna try it again. Which one is the
Well, I mean, like
best
the
in your
original
opinion?
4 was good. I got a couple that was gifted to me from my brother that are like meant for 2 players
Oh,
specifically.
that's cool.
And I haven't tried the other ones yet. So I enjoyed the original 4, and I've done one of those 2 with my sister for the 2-player one.
Do you
Because a
remember
lot
what
of
they're
time with this
called?
one, sorry,
Do you remember what those 2-player ones are called?
no. And it's not in this room here right now, so I don't remember.
Yeah.
I know one is a prison. You're trying to get out of prison or something like that. But yeah, it was cool. Or Alcatraz. I think you're trying to escape Alcatraz.
Oh, I think I remember seeing that. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to try one again because I want to
Yeah.
get better at those kind of puzzles too. Those are really cool.
Yeah, no,
Awesome.
they're fun.
Good choice. Okay, so that was your number
7.
7. Oh, yeah, I'm on my number 7. I already wrote it down, so I'm like, what? So, my number 7 is called Nine Tiles Panic, made in 2019 by Jens Merkel and Jean-Claude Pellin. Now, this is an Oink game, and if any of you don't know what Oink games are, they come in these little tiny boxes that are not as wide as a card box, but they're a little bit deeper than that. So they're very small, and all the games that in that line are usually bigger than what the box is. So this one actually isn't the normal size of the Oink box. It's probably the size of a double card box, but it's really neat. Everybody has their own set of 9 tiles, and the tiles have things on both sides. And so what you do is you just grab 3 scoring cards and just out of random, and then those will be what you're trying to focus on for this round. So the scoring cards might say they want the most dogs chasing aliens on your tiles. And then one might say having the most hamburgers, because there's little hamburgers on there too. And the next one might just say connecting the longest road. So on these tiles, what you have are different roads and hills and people and aliens and burgers and dogs and all different kids and all different kinds of things. And so what you do is you just grab your stack of tiles, you set the timer, and you take one tile and you place it, and then you take another tile and you place it, and you can move them around. But whoever's the first one completed their puzzle will grab the timer, I believe. I don't think it's timed until then, and they'll flip it, and then everyone else has that much time left, and it's not much time. So once that's done, you're done. Everyone stops, and you score your tiles. And you find that it's really tricky. You can't get all 3 of those scoring cards. Like, you either have to focus on one, maybe a bit of 2, but you're just going to score those cards. But you do also score, normally, without the cards, your roads. You don't want to have multiple roads. You want to have like as few roads as possible. And I don't think you can make a loop. Maybe there's one scoring card that can. So you kind of have to strategically put it so that there's not a whole bunch of different ones. But the art is really like basic and simple, but it's really neat. It's just one that you can play. It's like a 5-minute game. You just play race, and then whoever has the most points moves up on the track. And depending on the player count, you have to reach a certain amount of points. But it's fun. I had watched a playthrough of this, and this was a guy in Europe, and I really would love to be in Europe sometimes because they play this at breakfast. This is what they do before they go to school. They were like, hey, and I mean, what a way to get your mind going too, hey? The kids are just so pumped to come down and have breakfast, and they play a few rounds of 9 Tiles Panic, eat their breakfast, and just happy as can be. But yeah, it's so awesome that they do that over there, that it's such a big part of their family lives.
Yeah.
And throughout the day, not just, one Saturday night. No, some of them, they'll play it like regularly, play any games like regularly. But this one is a really neat one. And I haven't found many people that like it. I don't know if I've found any that like it besides myself, but I really do like it. And that's my number 7, 9 Tiles Panic.
That's one that's on my wish list. I've heard of it. Geez, probably in the last few weeks for the first time. And I'm like,
oh, really?
Oh, I would like that. Oh, I think somebody had compared it to Sorcerer's City, but like easier
very
version,
milder
to get play, right?
version. Yeah, but yeah, same like kind of idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Well, my number 6 is Ricochet Robots. This is by far the oldest game on my list. It was published in 1999. It was created by Alex Randolph, and it's published by Rio Grande Game. And I really like this one. And this is one that I find like you got to get your brain warmed up to that type of thinking, because it's a hard puzzle otherwise. But you have this board and they're double-sided, and you create this 4x4 grid that you connect them all together. And then there'll be a different spot that have like the symbol for each robot that you have, and they all have different colors. So you'll be putting them over there. Then you draw a token, and it's going to be a color of one of the robot, and it's going to have a symbol for that somewhere on this board. And then you got to get that colored robot onto this token symbol on the board. Now, the robots can only move in one direction and in a straight line, and then they move until they hit something and stop. Then you can send them in another direction, and they'll move until they hit something and stop. So you're trying to kind of hit these different things that you have around the board, either other robots or walls and different things, and trying to get it so that this robot lands on that spot. Now, you can move the other robots as well so that they can kind of ricochet off the other robots and create new barriers that will stop them in certain things to try to get in. And then you're kind of all staring at the board trying to figure out how you can get this robot there. And then when you come up with an amount of move that you can do it in, be like, okay, I can do it in 10 moves. And then you flip the timer. People still look at it and see if they can figure out a faster way of doing it, and then be like, okay, I can do it in 7. It's like, really? And then they get to show you how they got it in. And then if they do, they get that token, and that's points. And you'll play so many rounds until you've done this puzzle a few times, and whoever has collected the most token wins the game. But just the way to view this board and trying to figure out how you're going to move the robots to bounce off the different things and then get into that location. It is so neat. It is so fun. I really enjoy this one. And that's my number 6, Ricochet Robots.
I've heard of this game, but I've never played this one. Awesome. All right. My number 6 is Word Slam, made in 2016 by Inca and Marcus Brand. Now, this one is a party game as well. And it is a kind of a race as well, but there's no timer. It's just whoever gets it first. Is that correct? Right? When we do
yeah.
I can't remember if there's a timer now. It's just a race. So you are trying as fast as you can to describe a certain word to your team. And how you do that is you use these cards. So you have this whole deck of cards that you will flip through and try to use to describe a word. So say the word is wedding. Okay. You might flip through and you see man or girl or wife. If I don't know if they're in the deck, and then maybe there's a cake, and so you're just trying to put these cards out, but you don't want everybody to yell things too obviously, because the other team is also trying to guess the same word with their person flipping through cards, which they'll have the same deck. Mm-hmm. So you're just like, okay, you're kind of like, yeah, but just kind of keep it quiet, you're close, but shh. So you kind of, and then they will kind of listen to the other person too. If you're doing a really crappy job of doing it, they might just listen to the other team and then, call it out. And it sounds like I don't know, it's probably not described very well, but it's really fun. And this was one of the games where typically I find, and I'm not being female male prejudice here, but females, to me, it used to be when we would play with couples, had an easier time with word games, like describing things. And I think it's because we're more descriptive. I'm maybe just thinking that. But we played it one time, was the girls against the guys, and they kicked our butt.
It was not, there was no female advantage there.
I know. I was like, what? This is not the normal that I play with. And I'm not saying the guys I play with are very stupid, because they're very smart in other games like trivia and things like that. They're just nuts in. But it always seemed that me and my sister-in-laws would beat the guys in games like this. But that night, it was a wake-up call. But I don't know if it was just the games we were
This
playing,
game,
but
or-
yeah, or if those guys were just outrageous with like being descriptive, but they got their words like in seconds sometimes.
They really did. It was neat.
How did they do that? Unless they were cheating, but
Well,
I don't think they were because they're gamers.
It's not easy to cheat at this one, so
No,
But yeah,
you'd have to say
this is
it.
a neat
You
one.
can't
Like
even-
you're just putting these different things. They put these words, and you're like, "What?" It was like because we had one where they put not man, green. So we're stuck on it's a green woman,
yeah.
but it was an alien, not man as an alien, not
yeah.
woman.
Yeah,
so
we
so
were
caught
stuck
up
on woman.
a
That's
green
right.
woman.
Yeah. If you're not man, you're a woman. Well, no, not really. There's lots of other things.
Yeah, and so it was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So,
that was
that's
neat.
my number 6 word slam.
Perfect. My number 5 is Sorcerer City, published in 2020, created by Scott Caputo, and it's a Druid City game. And this one, you start where you have like your starting tiles, and you have a timer, and then you place these tiles together to trying to create these color clusters as much as you can. And then you're going to score kind of like your clusters, and then whoever gets the most out of this is going to get like advantage. So you're trying to set up so that but you can't be like, oh, I don't want to place this yet. Like you got to place them as they come up, and then trying to create this thing. So, and it's at the beginning, it's not so bad, but then at the end, you can kind of decide where you're going to assign some of these points that you got to points, or to kind of increase your abilities, or to kind of go and purchase new tiles. So you'll be purchasing new tiles, and then you'll be getting tiles sometimes that will have negative effects. And when it comes up, it's like it cancels out the thing, or it kind of creates negative stuff. And then you're getting more and more tiles that you're adding, and then you kind of do the round again, and you're trying to create these clusters and you got the timer, so you don't have time to be like, where would this really be best? It's like, no, you gotta go. And then it's like, so it's, and they'll be like, okay, maybe there, and then they get the next tiles like, oh, that one would have been perfect where that one just went. So where can I put this now? And then it's like, you get that whole thing going, and it's chaotic, and you get that, like, but everybody's doing this at the same time. One thing I gotta say, oh my God, Table Hog.
Oh.
This game took and I have a table that goes square, so it's like, and then we had TV trays all around, and we used a counter in the kitchen, and it was
As a
like
market?
Yeah, for the market. Like, it was ridiculous how much room this game took, but it was so cool. And I really enjoyed it. And then, yeah, it definitely gives you that anxiety. And then if the time goes off and you haven't put all your tiles, and that's it, you don't get to put all your tiles. And so, but yeah, it's neat. I really, really enjoy this one. That's why I was interested in the 9-tile Panic one, because I think it's a simpler version of this.
It's very simpler, yes.
So that's my number 5, Sorcerer City.
Good one. Did you play this with 4 people?
I think we were max player count, so it was ridiculous.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I haven't been able to get more than 3 people on one table. Unless we would actually put the market maybe on a different table. That might work. But yeah, it's nuts, this game. Good choice. My number 5 is Pictomania, made in 2011 by Vlada Chevadel. Now, this one I had bought quite a while ago. I tried it with my family, and they're like, this was dumb. I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll end up selling it. And then I played it with some gamers, and they loved it. It's Pictionary, basically, but only timed. And you're also, as you're drawing, you're trying to guess other people's. So you have this whole line of cards, and each card is numbered, like, say, 1 to 6 with different words on them. So you have about 4 or 5 cards, and they're set up on this tray. And then you each grab this a card that will say like A4 or something, and then someone has a B3. So that we all have different words, but they're all in front of you. You just don't know which one the other ones have. And so say I have like unicorn, and somebody else, I don't know, they have different words. So I'm drawing my unicorn, and as soon as I'm done, I stop. I grab this higher point chip in the middle, and I start trying to guess the other people's. So I want to guess them before anybody else, because if I guess them right and I'm first, I get big points. And if you guess wrong, you lose some of the points you got from finishing fat first, I believe. But it's interesting because I am a terrible drawer, like absolutely terrible. So mine just get the most laughs usually because they don't look really much like anything. and I also, what did I do? Because I think I guessed. I don't know, I might have guessed wrong. Usually I'm pretty decent at guessing, especially people who can draw well. But finishing mine the fastest when I'm the worst drawer is not the best strategy because then I end up with some negative points. But it's funny because they would like finish, typically before me because I would try to like draw it so it looked resembling an actual animal as opposed to like something that looks like a hand or something. But oh my gosh, it was funny. And we've said this one I'm definitely bringing to KefCon because it would be funny with multiple people. It has a similarity to a game called Doodle Rush, which is a new one out. And that's kind of the same thing, only one person doesn't know what the word is and everybody's drawing the same thing. And if you're the fastest one, you grab this timer and everyone only has a certain amount of time, or you're rolling dice, and when you get the right number, then everybody has to stop. And if you're the first one done and that person guesses yours, you get big points. But if not, it goes to the second person who is done and so on. But this one, I think it's a little more... I don't know. I think this one is a little bit more smoother where you're basically just trying to guess everybody else's. You're trying to finish your own with the best drawing you possibly can, but it's still funny and hilarious. And that's my number 5, Pictomania.
Nice. My number 4 is Galaxy Trucker. This one was published in 2007. It's a Vlada Chvátil game, and it's published by CGE. And this game is so cool, and it plays in 2 phases. So the first phase is you have all these tiles face down on the table, and you're going to grab them, bring them to your board, flip them over, and decide if you want to put it on your ship or not. Or if you don't, you put it back on the table. And then you're doing this, trying to create this ship. And then you start with like your middle portion, which will give you like kind of sleeping quarters, so you get astronauts from that. But you can add... cannons, you can add force fields, you can add boosters so that you can move forward. You can add like all these different things that kind of adds on to it. But you have to connect them in ways that they have like a matching connection. And then if you have open connection that are facing out, like these are at a higher risk of getting damage in your trip, but you're building your ship as fast as you can, and once you be like, okay, this is it. And then this is the first round, you just kind of take your time with it. The second and third, because you kind of do bigger ships then. But then it introduced the timer element as well. And it doesn't matter if the timer's gone off. You keep going until somebody realizes they can flip it over. But then you're limiting the time. You have to put your ship together. But then if you're done, you'll be, okay, I'm flipping the timer the last time. And then people have that much time left to do their ships, right? So you're not having one that's meticulously putting this thing together while you rush through yours, and they end up with a much better ship. But so you've got this all put together, and once you've completed your ship, you go on this voyage. And basically, you're trying to see how much of your ship's going to make it through. And it'll flip cards that go, so maybe there's asteroid, maybe you come across a planet that has resources and you can collect resources. So you got to make sure that you have put cargo hold on your ship as well. And then all these things, but then the meteoroids is that, oh, okay, so there's meteors. There's 2 small ones and a big one, and 2 are coming from the left and 1's coming from the front. And you roll the dice to see where on the ship it's going to hit. Now, if you have cannons, you can use your battery, because you'd have to make sure you put batteries in your ship as well to power these things, to shoot the cannon. And then if you do, then you take no damage. It's all good. If it's a small meteorite, it'll just bounce off unless it has an open connector that was left there, so you have like a weaker part of your ship. Then it would hit that. Then if it does and cause damage, well, then that part of your ship comes off, so you take the tile off and it's taken damage. But if you take a part off that kind of disconnect a whole section, then you lose that whole section as well. And so it's interesting. And from what I understand, Fit to Print has a very similar mechanism to this.
Yeah.
That's just
Yes.
out on Kickstarter now. So now I was like, I'd seen Fit to Print. I was like, okay, that's fine. And then I was listening to, was it the barbecue podcast?
Boardgame barbecue. Yeah.
Yes, I was listening. And then he was talking about Fit to Print, how it compared to Galaxy Trucker with the building of the ship. And I was like, oh no, I want this now.
Yeah.
So, but
too.
I really enjoy Galaxy Trucker, and I like that whole aspect of putting it together and see how far is it going to make it. So it's neat, and that's my number 4.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Fit to Print too. Perfect tile laying race. Love
Yeah.
it. All right, so my number 4 is Word on the Street, made in 2009 by Jack Dagnan. Now this one is a word game, a party game as well, but you have 2 teams and you have this board in front of you that has all these different letters, and it's got all the letters of the alphabet minus the vowels and a few of the a few other letters that aren't on there. So what you do is you start with these little things in the middle, these little I guess they're discs kind of thing. And what you're trying to do is you'll flip a card and it'll have a category. It might say things in your fridge or something. And so you're just trying to think of one word, but you want to use as many letters as possible. Like, I can't think of something in my fridge right now that would, like, let's say rutabaga. I don't know. But so all the vowels that are in that, you basically spell it out and you'll move like the R over and then the B and right down to all the letters. You'll move those discs over to your side. And you have 3 spots, I believe, on each side. So if you've moved it 3 spots over and 1 more, it's off the board and you have that. And you're only trying to collect 6 discs, I think. That's it, just 6. Okay. And so it sounds easy, but it's tough because you may have moved yours like with rutabaga. Say, what a weird word I picked, but whatever. I don't even eat them, but I don't know what made me think that. Anyway. Nice. So you would move those discs over to your side. Okay, so then your turn's done. The other team goes. They have a card and they have to describe a word. Well, they might not just want to pull some from the middle. They might want to pull those ones back so that you don't get them, because you might have pulled one over like already. You just need 2 more and it's off the board. So it kind of is like a tug of war back and forth, but you are timed each time. So you only have like, I think it feels like 10 seconds, but I think it's actually 30 seconds because you have to think of the word as a team and spell it together and move the things off in that time. And so sometimes you're like, I can't think of a word, black, like for something. And then you write the word, like you had to pick a color and you get the B and the L because the C was already and the K were already gone. You're like, why did I do that? But it gets down to it where it usually our games have ended where our team has 5, they have 5. The letters left are in the middle, and they're just stupid letters like Z and Q or something, and like I don't even know if those are on there. Z is, I'm pretty sure, or Z, I guess. But it's fun, and it goes over well with everyone, gamers, non-gamers, and this one I heard about from Game Boy Geek. Oh. He had mentioned it one time about one of his favorite games that he used to play with his mom all the time. And even when she was like really sick before she passed away in the hospital, he's like, I would still bring this to the hospital and we would play this. So you can play it with 2 people. So it can be played, with 2 to 100 people. I mean, you wouldn't want 100 playing this, but it's fun, and everybody gets engaged because they're like, oh yeah, we got to think of the perfect word, the longest word, and use these letters. We want these letters off the board. But it's fun, and that's my number 4, Word on the Street.
Nice. My number 3 is Escape Curse of the Temple. It was published in 2014. It's created by Christian Amundsen Oddsby, and it's a Queen's game. And this is neat. Like you play this music and it'll be like spooky music, and then I'll go like escape, and then you start in the middle of this tile, and then there's like 5 tiles to start with, and then you got to roll the dice, and you all have these dice, and then depending on which room you want to go into, it kind of shows what you need to roll to get into that room. So you roll and say, okay, great, I've got these symbols, so you can go in that room. And then I think you need to roll a certain amount, like a key and something, to be able to bring in a new tile. So you bring in a new tile, and you're trying to find these kind of location that have these gems, because right now you've got the exit, but there's so many gems that you can't make it through, because these gem kind of make it that you got to roll to get out, but you got to roll for each gem, and you don't have that many dice. So you need to get rid of these gems. So you're trying to find these areas that you can start rolling the symbols that are there to assign gems to it. And you can be like, oh, okay, I found one. Somebody come and help me. So then they got to come into the room as well. And then they can roll along with you. It's like, okay, we could put 3 gems. Let's do that. We put 3 gems. And then you've got 3 gems out of the main exit. So you can kind of, and then you keep going around. Now, some of the things you'll roll could be like this black symbol. And the black symbol ties up your dice. You can't use it anymore. So it's like, oh no. So you roll the rest of it. Now, if you roll a gold symbol, that will unlock a black dice. So that's good. But you can't be like, oh no, I've rolled all black symbols. Somebody come and help me, because they got to come up to the room and roll a gold symbol to be able to unlock a couple of your own dice, so that you can try to get yourself kind of unlocked. And then keep going through this big temple trying to find all these gem places until you've kind of allocated enough gem, and then find the exit and then make it out of the exit. But at some point, a gong goes off, and you have like so many seconds to make it back to the middle area so that you're safe. Otherwise, if you don't make it there on time, you lose 1 dice, and now you're doing the whole thing with 1 dice down. You're like, oh no, quick, go back. And then it's like, doom, doom. It's like, oh no, I didn't make it back, or whatever. And then the music kind of goes a little bit more calmer, and you go back to kind of said, it's crazy. And then I got the big box version where, and honestly, I've played with the base version of it. I haven't really played with the extended, extras. Like, too much, just because the base game is hectic and spooky and messes you up enough as it is to add all these extra elements. But we could add all these extra things and just make it insane. Oh, look, it's right behind me here too. But it is neat. It is such a fun, crazy. And then my sister would do this, and then her dice goes flying. She keeps losing her dice, and like, it's like, what are you doing? Like, you're messing us up. So
I want to play with your sister. She
just
sounds like a hoot. I haven't got to play with her yet.
Yeah, no, you do. I think, honestly, like, people like to play with us just because of the dynamic of how it is between us when we play. Funny. So, but yeah, so that was my number 3, Escape Curse of the Temple.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, that's a coincidence. My number 3 is Escape Curse of the Temple as well.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And I don't own this game. I've only played it, I believe, at the old cafe that used to be here. And I had purchased it used for a friend. And I think we might have played it once with them. But I really like this game. I don't know why I don't own it. I was looking, when I was doing this list, I'm like, why do I not own this game? And I looked up, they also have an Escape Zombie City. So now that I see you have this version, I might try and get the Escape Zombie City version, and then we can swap them and try that one. But it looked pretty neat too. I only looked up a little bit of it. I didn't watch a whole video, but you're trying, like, these zombies will come in and swarm you, and so you're trying to get rid of them, but you're also trying to get things throughout the city, like in the temple. I don't know if it would be as fun as the temple one, but I might have to give it a try. But awesome. Yeah, that's my number 3 as well. Escape Curse of the Temple.
Nice. My number 2 is one that I've talked about before. And it's Rail Pass. And that one's published in 2019. It's a Ref Tom Green game and published by Mercury Games. And this one is cool. So you have your train station in front of you, and everybody playing has a train station in front of you, and you have 2 trains, a bigger train and a longer train. And on your station, you have 2 rows of cargo that you're going to need to send to the other location, because you have all sorts of colors, but not your own. And the goal is to get the cargo of the colors to their respective train station. Now, you also have 2 little kind of, I don't know, like pegs that goes into the train, because you can't run the train if it doesn't have a conductor. Now your conductor doesn't want to work more than 2 stations away from his own station. So if he ever gets sent a third station away, he'll quit, and then that peg is gone. So you got to be careful that you kind of keep that in mind as well. And you cannot have a train that is unattended, so it has to have a conductor, and you have to have somebody holding on to it. So what you'll do is you'll load some of the cargo onto the trains. You'll put your conductor on it, and then you're sending it to the person to your left, let's say. And then I'll go, choo-choo. So they realize, I need you to come and get this train. So then, and you can't let go of the train until somebody else grabs this train, because if you do and nobody's holding onto it, the train crashed, and then that's gone. And this is a cooperative game, and you're trying to kind of set it so that you're sending all these goods to the right location. So then I'll get some sent to me, and I was like, okay, well, I can take this cargo out because that's my cargo. Now this is black cargo, black player is next to me, so I'll send it there. So I put, I was like, okay, choo-choo, and they'll come and get it. And then sometimes, just to make things interesting, between 2 players, like, hey, well, we can go between here, between me and you, and that's great, but you got to go through this tunnel, so you got to get this train through this little cardboard tunnel. And then between this player and this player, well, there's a barricade, so you can't go that way. You got to go around in order to be able to send goods that way. And it is chaotic, and it's crazy. And then it's timed. Like, you have this so many times to try to get the goods into the right location as much as possible. And then you score kind of at the end, but you're kind of going around and moving things around. And it's like, okay, it's like, oh no, this isn't my conductor. Where's my conductor? Where's this conductor? Okay, I got to send him. I can't send, I was going to send the goods this way, but I don't have a conductor that can go there. This guy has to go back because he's getting too far. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm sending it back that way. Like, there's so much kind of little aspect that you got to keep in mind. And then playing this game, but it is so fun. I want this game. I don't own it.
Oh, I was going to say, you have this? I want to try
No,
it.
Michael has this game, or is the one I played it with a couple of times, and it's so cool. And that's my number 2, Rail Pass.
Awesome. Yeah, I would like to try this one too. All right, my number 2 is a crossover. This one is Sorcerer City, made in 2020 by Scott Caputo. This game, I had followed it on Kickstarter a bit early in my Kickstarter years, when I don't know if I had even backed anything yet, and I was like, oh, that game looks really interesting, but I don't know about this Kickstarter thing. It's a slippery slope, I tell you. But anyway, so I did end up kickstarting things later, and I haven't stopped, but I did not back this one, and it came out to retail. And I was like, I think I really need to try this. So I just bought the retail version of the game. The only difference really were the coins, I believe. I think that's really the big difference in the Kickstarter version. But anyway, what you do, well, you described this game. What frustrates me are those, I'm not going to say it, but the bad monsters that come into your deck, and you've got everything all planned out, and the time, you're like, I got lots of time left. All of a sudden this monster comes up. You have to stick him in your city, and he has to ruin everything. And you're like, no! So that's when, the first time I played this game though, I was almost going to sell it, because I'm like, I hate this. This is stupid. And I did terrible. And then my friend Cherry loves this game. Oh, so I'm like, okay, we'll play it again. And then I was like, oh, actually, it's not that bad. Still didn't win. And then played it again. Nope, still didn't win it. But it was getting better. Still liking it. I do like games that I don't win. That's not what it's about. But I like them better when I can when I can actually play them.
Fighting chance.
When I have a fighting chance. So I kept playing it. And then one day I actually won. And we tried it with Ashley, and she hated it. And I was like, that was me the first time we played. But then she also was like, okay, we got to try that game again. I'm like, yeah, I know. You got to, some of these games, they're just like, they're so distinctive, but you're like, oh. And then you think about them and think about them. And you're like, I gotta do this again. I can do better. I know it. But it's so good. And it's It's neat with like, because you're building them each round, you're going to have more tiles. And so, but the same amount of time. So the first round is quite easy. You'll get all your tiles down because you haven't bought any. So it's pretty chill and relaxing. The second round, it's a little bit hectic depending how many you buy. But then after that, it's like, oh no. And unless if you can find a way to get rid of your monsters, better. But there's not, I think there's only one way to do it. Maybe one card or one bonus that you get for having the most like magic or something. Like it's something. But that was how I won that one game. I was able to get rid of monsters and give them to the other person. So it was even worse for them. I wasn't just losing one. They were adding one to theirs. So it was terrible for them. But yeah, it's an awesome game. And that's my number 2, Sorcerer City.
Wonderful. Okay, my number 1 is Kiro, and I play. This one was published in 2018. It's by Prosperous Hall, and it's published by Hurricane. And I bought this one at Gobfest, and it was at the flea market. It was at the very end. This guy only had like 2 games left on his table, and I was like, well, I know nothing about it. I was like, would you take this much for it? And he's like, yeah, sure. And I was like, okay. So I took it home. And then when I started opening all the games I had at home, I opened this one and I'm like, oh! And then Lee was like, what? I was like, oh my God. And these have the most amazing components because you have these little tanker trucks that are sand timers. And the way that it works is because you've got these cars that you can try to acquire, and some will give you like abilities so that you have different resources like always so that you can apply that to the different things. And there's in the middle like these location that you're trying to gain control over, which is what's going to give you the victory points at the end as well. So when you're trying to do these things, and then you can go to this place where you can kind of get more kerosene because it's the most hard resource to get by. And when you decide that, okay, it's my turn, so you're going to go, then you take your tanker truck and you flip it up so that the sand timer comes out and you start rolling the dice. And the longer you take, the more fuel you're wasting. So you're trying to go as fast as you can. But sometimes you'll roll a flame, like a flame symbol, and that locks up your dice. It's like, darn it, now I'm down 1 dice. It's like, what can I even do anymore? Like, because it kind of locks up your dice. That's why it's important to get those cards that'll give you like that extra resources, which I didn't do the first time I played this. It was really bad. But you're rolling until you're like, okay, no, I'm done. Then you put your tanker truck down because it's like, okay, I'm getting too low on fuel, so I'm going to stop here. Then this is what I got, and then you kind of assign the dice. Okay, I'm getting this card, and I'm going to put one of my like kind of character tile token onto this location, so I have. But somewhere in the cards will be a card that kind of ends that round. So when that comes up, whatever location, whoever has the most kind of like control, like the most characters on those locations will gain that location. So if I had put 1 and the other player had put 1 and we're tied, then that location stays, nobody got it. And if we didn't put 1 on any location at all, then nobody gets that one. But you're trying to technically, like that's the goal, is to try to get the most of those locations. But you're trying to get these cards that'll give you the resources and different things as well. But that whole thing, and then at one point you'll be needing to refuel. So it's like, okay, I'm going to spend 1 of my jerry cans to refuel my tanker truck. And then what will happen is I will take my tanker truck and hold it upside down so that the sand goes back to refuel it. And the other player rolls their dice as quick as they can, trying to get all flames. And as soon as they get all flames, like, hey, stop, you're done fueling up. So it's like, oh, God, I was hoping to get more. But, so it is neat. It is chaotic, and you're just kind of like, oh no, I'm wasting fuel. Why do I keep rolling this? And it's like, okay, I'm just gonna stop. Like it's interesting, and I really like it. And the components are just amazing looking. So that's my number 1, Kiro.
Yeah, this was a good score you got from God.
Oh, I'm so happy with this.
I've looked at this game lots, like, over the years, because it's an older game, and I'm like, oh, would I like this game? Would I? But now that you keep describing it, it sounds really cool. Awesome. All right, my number 1, I've talked about this before. This is Time's Up Title Recall / Monikers, because they are basically the same game. I'm not sure how one game can be identical to another game, but made into another game. So Time's Up Title Recall, I believe, was made in the US, I'm guessing. The designer was Michael Adams and Peter Serrett. And then Monikers was made in 2015, so 7 years later, by Alex Hugo and Justin Vickers. So I'm wondering if it's kind of the same thing. Like, so it looks like the European took from the US. I wonder if it was them getting back at the Americans for taking Office that was first showed in Europe, like in the UK, and then they did their own version in the States. Because it's so weird. I don't know if you've ever watched that show. I've watched every single episode of it. I love it. But it was actually like the same show, and they did it over here. Like, I didn't know you could just do that. Like, I'm taking that and I'm making one here. Well, but it's already made. So I'm not sure how it happens, but it's a really good show and a really good game. The game is basically all you're doing is you're working in teams again, and you have a stack of cards. And you, on your first round, you are describing the phrase or it's not usually a sentence. It's like could be a movie or a title of something, but it could be a few words. You're describing it to your team, and you can use whatever words you want that are like not on the card, obviously, in order to describe it. But you have a timer, and I don't know if it's a minute you get. I think it's about a minute, and you'll describe as many cards as you can. And then once that timer goes out, then you put that stack on your side, and then the other team grabs the remainder of the stack, and they will do the same thing. So they're doing that, and then once all the cards are gone, whoever you figure out your score, you just count your cards, and whoever has the most gets that points for the first round. Then shuffle those cards up, use the same cards, and in round 2, you do the same thing, only you can use one word to describe that whole phrase or movie or whatever it is. So you kind of, there's some memory involved here too, because you're like, what are you talking about? Well, don't you remember, like, I said this, but I used a lot more words, but I'm just describing with the one. You don't say that, but that's what you're meaning. So you do that again, and whoever has the most, you score it. And then the third round is the funniest, because you just act it out. You can't say a word. You're only acting it, and you only have the minute, and so you're trying to get as many as you can. And it is just a hilarious game. It's worked well with every kind of group, family, gamers, everyone. We have so much fun with it. And you could get either or, which game, Time's Up Title Recall or Monikers, and there's different versions in each of them. You can get tons of different stacks of cards. You could really make up this game yourself with your own phrases. Like, you really don't even need the game, but it's so fun. And you use like 40 cards, I think, per game. So those 40 are using over and over and over and over, and it's just so fun. And that's my number 1, Time's Up Title Recall / Monikers.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's it. That was our top 9 real-time games. Well, next week, you are going to be hearing about our KefCon experience, because this episode will actually drop after KefCon. We haven't gone yet. We're heading there this weekend. We're so excited. Can't wait. And so you'll get to hear all about that next week. But until then, where can people find you if they want to look you up?
So on Facebook, my Facebook page is Mel's Board Game Room. On Instagram, it's Mel's _boardgame_room. And my YouTube channel is Mel's Board Game Room. How about you, Carla? Where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram at Board Game Specialist, all one word. And on Facebook, you can reach me at Red Deer Board Game Fanatics. Well, thank you guys for listening, and we will chat with you next week. Bye for now.
Bye. as